Well, hello and welcome to the Eat Simple podcast. I'm Erin Power, and today I've got 4 unpopular opinions to share with you. Oh, yeah, baby. Now, this is very much in the realm of the unscripted riff, which is one of my favorite ways of just creating content, shall we say. So, hang with me as I just sort of, riff on these ideas. But I feel really strongly about these. I was thinking about this today while I was driving around. These are strongly held convictions of mine, and they are unpopular. Are you ready? I'm ready. All right, unpopular opinion number 1. Dairy should not be a staple for meeting your protein needs. Okay? Yes, dairy has protein in it. It does. It has protein in it. Lots of things have protein in them. But just because they have protein in them doesn't mean that they're automatically, good for us. There's a huge protein narrative right now. I don't know if you noticed. Protein definitely having a moment. You probably think you need to eat more protein, and you know what? You probably do. I most often talk to women, and women are like starting the day with a collagen coffee, and then they're having a salad with some chicken on it, and then they're having the family meal, but of course they're skipping the carbs and, lean proteins. We're barely scraping by on protein, so yeah, more would be great. Do you need to eat all the protein? No, but more would be great. Now, if you were already eating a good amount of protein and you were going to use dairy products like yogurt or cottage cheese or whey protein powder to just sort of bump it up to a maybe a more, let's call it a therapeutic level, then okay, yeah, I'm down for that. But using dairy as your main source of protein, I don't like it. And I can tell you why. Dairy products have a very different palate experience than like meat, eggs, poultry, right? It's creamy, it's cold, it's got that sort of yum factor. If it's whey protein, it probably tastes like a chocolate peanut butter banana milkshake. You're probably putting fruit and honey and stuff on it. It's becoming this very dessert-like thing. And the palate is really expecting more of a savory or umami flavor when it's trying to monitor how much protein is coming in. Um, I do think from a appetite signaling, craving perspective, leaning on the palate experience of dairy products like yogurt and cottage cheese and cream cheese, although that's not a high protein source. People don't usually eat cream cheese for their protein, but whey protein shakes, it's just sending a strange signal. I don't know what it is, but women really, and I'm generalizing because I talk to women all the time. And I only talk to women. Women really love dairy as a protein source. I don't know what that is. Is it more ladylike to nibble on yogurt than on a hunk of meat? I don't know. But I really do need you to be getting your protein from like animal protein sources. I want you to send that signal, that abundant protein signal in through the palate into the whole digestive system and metabolically to make that sort of that handshake. When the body cues up hunger, you cued up a suitable satiety signal using appropriate protein sources. I've heard it said, and I don't have any research to back this up. There are no show notes here today, my friends, ever. Okay, there's no show notes. There's also no sponsors, so that's nice. I've heard it said, and I'm going to track down this information later. I've heard it reported that dairy products can have a quasi-addictive-ish property. Now, I tread very lightly when it comes to describing food as being addictive. That's another maybe unpopular opinion, a parenthetical to this one, which is I'm actually I'm a little bit over people talking about their addictive tendencies to food. You're just a human that's hungry and trying to eat. Like, let's dial it down. And here's another unpopular opinion. This just made me think of that. Just because my Spotify Wrapped told me that I listened to the same song, 100 times in a row, does not mean I have ADHD. Okay. Okay. That's a non sequitur, but it feels the same to me. Like there's a lot of narrative that we pick up. The zeitgeist. I just used the word narrative and zeitgeist in the same sentence. Wow. That's amazing. But this idea of like being addicted to sugar, I'm addicted to bread, I'm addicted to what milk, dairy, cheese. Cheese is a big one. I would always tread lightly. Okay. But there is some research, I think, I'm going to track it down, suggesting that dairy might have a quasi addictive ish tendency. I don't know what that is. Maybe it is that palate experience. Maybe it's like a conditioned response, a dopamine thing. It's creamy, it's sweet, it's sort of like ice cream, but not really. It's not like ice cream. I mean, really, what's the difference? We've got a bowl of yogurt with a bunch of fruit and honey. We've got a bowl of ice cream. Well, both of them are cold, creamy, sweet tasting dairy products. They're not much different. But one is junk food. Ice cream is junk food, and yogurt is virtuous. I don't know. So there's something to that. And people that I work with who occasionally wish to explore dairy elimination, which is something I think that's worth trying because we don't know. There's potentially allergenic compounds in dairy, and I'm not talking about the lactose, I'm talking about the proteins in dairy that can trigger some gut disruption and, some inflammatory or autoimmune symptoms. It's worth trying to see what life is like without dairy. You just never know. In fact, I had a client recently who was having major, major digestive issues and pinpointed it to dairy. That's just her unfortunate, cross to bear. Dairy is not a great food for her. Now at least we know. It's good to know. You run the experiment, you collect the data, whatever happens, right? So, but when I encourage people to go through a dairy elimination, well, it's like pulling teeth. I mean, back in the day, I used to do that right out the gate with people. As soon as I signed up, it's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're hitting this elimination diet. Let's go. I don't really do that anymore. But I do have the dairy elimination on the table for discussion later, once a client feels more, I guess, confident, and they're seeing some results, and they're getting excited about results, and they kind of want to see about maybe quote unquote leveling up. I'll say, well, let's try this out. And they go and try the dairy elimination, and it's objectively hard. And by the way, I did it too, because I was having some inflammatory pain symptoms. I was having some just like joint pain. I thought it was inflammatory pain. I didn't really know what it was, but it was coming out of nowhere. It was really driving me crazy. Now, the only dairy I was consuming was cheese occasionally and yogurt occasionally. But I cut it out. And even though I was just an occasional user, it was a really tough few days. I just wanted cheese. I just really wanted cheese. People just love cheese. I don't know what that is. Why? What is that? But I got over the hump. You get over the hump. You can do anything, you can do anything. It takes 4 days to get over the hump of a dairy elimination or a caffeine or whatever you're going to eliminate. You can do hard things. I mean, you've done way harder things than that. Anyway, I don't know what it is, but it feels really hard for people to imagine life without dairy. Oh, here's one thing though I'll say. One of the places people do use dairy often is in their coffee. So you have your coffee morning ritual. And of course, coffee is just like the hero of the health world right now, even though caffeine is a psychoactive compound and we're not really cool with those except caffeine somehow gets a pass. I don't know what that's all about. I'm not a coffee drinker, so. But anyways, you are, everybody is, and you put milk in your coffee. And then when the idea of eliminating dairy, now it feels like, oh, do I have to eliminate my coffee? No, you can still have your coffee ritual and maybe try a non-dairy or try it black. People struggle with that because it's not the same flavor experience. And you know what? I'm so open to that. Yes, I want you to have your rituals. If you wake up in the morning and having a beautiful coffee ritual is how you start your day and you love anchoring to that, then I would say, well, let's just not do this dairy elimination. We'll tackle it later when you feel ready. That's one of the reasons why people really struggle with eliminating it. So my main reasons for thinking dairy should not be your staple when meeting your protein needs is because I just don't think you can get enough protein from dairy unless you're eating a ton of dairy, and then you're probably playing against a little bit of a potential inflammatory load. We don't really know. So I just can't imagine getting most of my protein needs met from yogurt, cottage cheese, and whey protein. Like the stomach ache you would have. Oi, you kidding me? Oh, here's one thing that I think I might get asked. What about raw dairy? I don't know or care. This is not a podcast that is ever going to talk about raw dairy. I just can't bother to care about it at all. A lot of people really, really waving their raw dairy flag. You can go ask them. I don't know. I don't know or care. Okay, someday when I hit the podcast big time and I have a podcast producer helping me out, maybe then we'll come back and revisit this episode and I can have my team of analysts devour the research on raw data. But for now, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I don't know everything about health. I'm the first person to admit I don't know everything about health. I don't want to know everything about health. I only have to know what I need to know. And what I need to know is what's presented to me in client conversations every day of my life. That's where I get these talking points. But I'm a little bratty about some of these things, and I feel pretty bratty about the fact that dairy should not be a staple source of your protein. It is a sprinkle on top. Okay, you got to eat meat. Meat and eggs, let's go. Unpopular opinion number 2. Okay, you take a deep breath because this one ruffles my feathers. Drinking more water will not help you lose weight. First of all, women, again, who I speak to, report into me and say, I don't know why I can't lose weight. I'm drinking a lot of water. Or they'll say, I guess I could drink more water. And I'm thinking, what? That's not a factor here. That is not a factor in fat loss. You're probably fine. If you are literally not dehydrated and dead on the ground, then you're hydrated enough. You can trust your thirst signals. Right out the gate, I get real grouchy about hydration narrative writ large. Like, why are we carrying 40 ounces of water? Why are we carrying a gallon jug of water? We don't have to do that. We are not that fragile. We are not going to dehydrate. I don't think you're dehydrated when you wake up in the morning from sleeping overnight. I don't think sleep is a dehydrating event unless you're a mouth breather, in which case, maybe don't be a mouth breather. I do think that should be nose breathers. So, do what you got to do. Train yourself to breathe through your nose. I guess you can use mouth tape if you want. I don't have any opinions on mouth tape either. I think you can teach yourself to breathe through your nose. Your nose is the breathing apparatus. And if you breathe through your nose, guess what? You're not going to dehydrate while you're sleeping at night. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense from an evolutionary perspective that a human would be so fragile that they'd be dehydrated from sleeping. Are you kidding me? We would not be here today as a species if we were that lame. Okay, so you can just drink when you're thirsty. Okay, you don't have to drink any more than that. You can if you want. I don't care. Drink more if you want to, but it's not necessary. Now, where weight loss is concerned, I don't even know where this comes from. I've looked into it. I've thought through it. Water makes you less hungry. Okay. This is one thing that I actually saw on a Facebook group that I'm part of. Now, I'm part of this Facebook group. This is really interesting, by the way. The city local to me, the city that I live in, has a women's group, women's Facebook group. So it's women's issues. And almost every day, 10 times a day, someone's posting asking how to lose weight because, hey, it's women. It's a group of women. What else are we going to talk about, right? Let's just talk about how to lose freaking weight. Let's just pummel ourselves for our lifetime on this one singular endeavor to the detriment of all other joy in our life. Let's go. Anywho, this question came up. How can I lose weight? I got this belly fat. How do I lose it? I already eat a lot of vegetables and drink enough water, this person said. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, wow. But people came into the comments and I don't know what their credentials are, nor does it matter. But they said, well, you should drink more water, like even more, because water will crowd out hunger. That's intentional dead air I just left there because that's crazy. Listen to that. Oh, if you drink water, it will crowd out your hunger. It'll trick your body into thinking you're full. You think your body's that dumb? You think your body's that dumb? You're going to fill your stomach full of water, which is calorie-less, nutrition-less. It has hydration in it, so that's good. You think your body's going to say, oh, oops, we're done. We're full. Oh, no need to eat food. We're good. No. Water doesn't make you less hungry. Water makes you less thirsty. And water can physically fill up your stomach, but that actual fullness signal is not a reliable way of gaming appetite. Your body will soon figure out, oh, this material that's inside the stomach is nutritionless. We still need nutrition. You're going to have to eat. Water doesn't make you less hungry. You know what makes you less hungry? Eating food. Now, let's walk back. Would being less hungry help you lose weight? Yes, it would. I mean, we have the GLP-1 drugs on the market. That's what they do. They make you less hungry. little problematic. I have a podcast episode coming out about GLP-1s soonishly. I do agree that being less hungry is a really awesome way to lose weight, because if you're less just hungry, then you're less looking around for the little nibbly things, the hundreds and hundreds of calories of snacky poos and nibbles and munches that sneak up on you and add to weight gaining paradigm in your body, because you're just hungry and you're never feeding yourself appropriately. But feeding yourself appropriately is how to solve that, not drinking water. What if eating food was the secret to weight loss? Listen, I'll tell you something. Eating food is the foundational secret of my weight loss program. Let's get you eating. Let's feel hunger and then answer it appropriately with food. If you feel hungry and answer it with water, you did it wrong. That was the wrong thing. Why do we think we're going to outsmart the body? You know what? I blame Trainer Bob. This was a Trainer Bobism from Biggest Loser. He would tell the Biggest Losers, if you feel hungry, chew gum, drink water. Chew gum and drink water. If you feel hungry, don't eat food for the love of God, but just chew some gum and drink some water so you can trick your body. You can't trick your body. Are you kidding me? The DNA, the software you're running is millions of years old and wired for survival. If it was that glitchy, we'd be so extinct. So extinct. Water is not a weight loss tool. It's not. It's not a weight loss tool. Period. End of story. I'm done. I'm moving on. Unpopular opinion number 3. Exercise intensity is a good thing. Exercise intensity, having intense exercise in your life is a good thing. This is a weird time. This is a weird time. Because I go back, I've been a fitness professional for 30 years, since I was 18 years old. And back then in the 90s and the early aughts, we were kind of a little crazy, weren't we, about, us gal pals, about cardio and fitness classes, and we were punishing ourselves. I've got friends who are endurance athletes and triathletes, and I'll say, man, you guys train hard, but not as hard as a cardio obsessed female exerciser from the 90s and 2000s. We would go hard in the paint, 2 to 4 hours of fitness classes a day, just ravaging our joints and our connective tissue, all in the name of being as tiny and thin as possible. By the way, we hated butts. We did not want to have a big butt. We did not want to have big, round muscle, full muscle bellies. We wanted to be shredded and lean, and we just cardioed our life away. And I did as well. Oh my gosh, you guys. I have this story on my blog about my indoctrination into this wellness world that I live in now. And a big part of it was exercise addiction and way overdoing it on cardio. Way 4 to 6 hours a day. I'm not kidding you. Anyway, it's a weird time because back then, and for most of my time in the fitness industry, we were all about the intensity. It's got to suck more, make it suck more. And now the pendulum has swung, as it does. The pendulum is always swinging. Swung back. Now it's oh, easy. Not too hard. You can't exercise too hard, okay? Because cortisol. Oh, unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. We have to stop stressing about cortisol. And that was a good pun. I'm sorry, but that was a good pun. Stressing about cortisol? Come on. That's gold. That's a little unpopular opinion. We're not going to stress about cortisol. It's a perfectly fine hormone that is not really specifically responsible for ruining your life, okay? So, but the spirit behind that, to back out of that, is that, this idea of, really overdoing the intensity of exercise is a kind of a chronic stressor. And I agree with that. I definitely agree. I am not endorsing 2 to 4 hours of cardio classes a day. Hell no. Definitely a bad scenario, bad scene. I would actually attribute that over exercising to a big reason why my metabolism really shut down in my mid-30s. I became pre-diabetic, exercising my face off. That doesn't even make sense. But I think that's what was at play there. Anyway, yes, overtraining, overdoing it on the cardio at that level, like the spin class, Orange Theory, body pump level of intensity is not good. But tapping that intensity occasionally, I think is good. I think it's good. I think keeping our intensity low all the time isn't the play. I do love low intensity exercise. huge proponent, as are we all are, of walking, right? Zone 2, whatever that might be, whatever you want to call it, just ambulating, low level aerobic, that sort of slow and low, super metabolically important, really nice from a nervous system standpoint because it's not stressful, it's not high pressure. You can do it. Anybody can do it, quote unquote, anybody can do it. Not anybody can do it. I've had clients who are in wheelchairs and can't walk, but they can move around still. And this idea of ambulating and getting around and just kind of being a human is sort of how we're metabolically wired. We are metabolically wired to move slow. And this is kind of a out there concept for some people, but like the whole idea of gene expression, right? Again, our ancient DNA remembers us walking around and moving around. And if we can do more moving around, we kind of anchor back to the origin of our awesomeness, which is our DNA, right? That's pretty cool. So yay, low level intensity stuff is good. That should be the foundation of your movement pyramid, shall we say. And of course, we want to strength train as well. And you should ideally be lifting heavy weights. So here's another parenthetical unpopular opinion. I'm not really into Pilates or bar classes, quite frankly. It's just the body weight stuff doesn't have a progressive overload component to it per se. So I do like the idea of people lifting weights. I mean, that's not news. You've heard that from lots of people. But like the intensity, this sort of like cardiorespiratory intensity where you're huffing and puffing and you're sweating and you're kind of shaking a little bit and it's exhilarating and it's a struggle during, but it's just like absolutely, again, invigorating afterward. I think there's a place for that intensity, and I wouldn't want women to abandon intensity. I want you to feel what it feels like to have an intensity to a workout once or twice a week. At the most, I would say 2 to 3 times a week. I personally have scaled back my intense workouts to, I'm down to 4 a week. I'm going to scale that back to 3. And the only reason I have 3 of those still on the agenda is because I love them. I do love them. But I think 3 is enough, but 0 is not enough. I think we need intensity to exercise occasionally. And you know what? That could be when you're out for your walk and you get to a hill, bust your ass up that hill. Just walk as fast as you can, get your heart rate up. Or maybe wearing a weighted vest or a rucksack. I made a dumb voice when I said that because the weighted vest thing to me is just like, I don't know. It's played out. It's played out. These things are so played out. Like a weighted vest isn't going to change your life, but throwing a weighted vest or a rucksack on or something weighted on your back and hustling up a hill is incredibly intense. In fact, whenever I would track that on my fitness tracker du jour, I use the Oura Ring or I've used the Whoop strap or whatever. Uphill ruck walking is as intense as like a body pump or like an Orange Theory class. Like it's right in the same zone of intensity, like a zone 4. That's that sort of weird black hole intense level that feels really fun. It's not super productive from a fitness perspective, but in small doses it can be. And I like the idea of having some intensity in our exercise. That's a real unpopular opinion these days. I don't know. All right, my 4th unpopular opinion. This is my most unpopular opinion, and I'm doubling down on it. But tracking your food, so unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. It's not normal. I've said that before on Instagram. I love saying that. Whenever I say it's not normal, here are the pushbacks I get. It's also not normal to eat 6,000 calories a day of processed foods and become an obese burden to the healthcare system. Now, that's what you call a binary, okay? Either we're tracking our food like an obsessive freak or we're binging on KFC and becoming a burden to the healthcare system. No, there's a lot of wiggle room between those 2 points on the continuum, those extremes, shall we say, a vast gray area in between. So I dismiss that argument. Okay, so don't even come at me with it because it's like, please. One of the other arguments I get, not arguments, pushbacks I get is, well, we track a lot of other things. We track our budget, our money. We track our workouts, right? Like if you want to do progressive overload in the gym, you got to track what weights you're lifting so you can increase them, right? Yeah, that's a good point. There's actually lots of the good things that are worth tracking. I would say budgets and strength training would be great things to track. Here's the deal. Those are human constructs. Like money is a human construct, finance is a modern human construct, lifting weights in the gym, progressive overload, very modern human construct, like our ancient whatever ancestors, whatever you believe in terms of ancestry, whether it's, the hunter-gatherers, or maybe you have a more modern view and your ancestry goes back to your great grandparents, whatever it is, we weren't doing progressive overload until the last couple generations. It's pretty new. And, similarly, money, that's probably a little older than new, but it's still a modern human construct. So because we invented the thing, then yeah, we can invent tracking for it, and we probably should, because it's a vague thing that we invented, and we should put some parameters around it and some rules, right? But nourishing your body with food is lizard brain activity. It is back of the brain stem. This is not accurate neurophysiology that I'm giving you right here, but go with me metaphorically. It's like the back of the brain. We shouldn't have to think about it. Our body knows what it needs. Our nutrient needs are tightly controlled by our brain. And if you can just learn to understand and pick up these signals, you don't have to track anything. It was never needed. It was never necessary. And you might say, well, it is necessary in the modern food environment, this highly processed food environment. Yeah, okay, well, but we shouldn't be eating those foods. Like, if we're not eating those foods, then we don't have to track it. Like, what difference does it make if I'm tracking my Twinkies? Twinkies not exactly a nourishing food. Tracking it doesn't make it somehow virtuous. We're not gonna delete the nutritional grossness of a Twinkie by simply writing it down in a food journal. Like, that's not how it works. But that aside, I mean, from a basic biological level, we don't need to track our food. And I would go so far as to say, because here's another pushback I get. People will say, fair enough, but it's not like there's any harm in it. Well, I think it can be harmful. Oh, you can hear a pin drop. That is an unpopular opinion. I think it is harmful because it's lobotomizing us from understanding how our bodies work and from tapping into our beautiful innate hunger and satiety signals, which is your natural portion control system that's built into you. The thing that makes it unnecessary to track is the thing you're basically taking completely offline by tracking. We're just becoming dumber. We're becoming biologically dumber by micromanaging this process. And I don't think we win when we become biologically dumber. So not only is it unnecessary, but I think it's harmful. And here's the final thing I'll say on this. The people who tell you how much of what you're supposed to eat, whether it's a nutritionist or a macro coach or a dietitian, they don't know how much you're supposed to eat. They have no idea how much you're supposed to eat. How do they know? How do they know what you are supposed to eat? They don't know. The only entity that knows what you're supposed to eat, how much of what you're supposed to eat, is your brain, which is tightly controlling your nutrient needs. So if you feel hungry, trust your brain for queuing up that hunger signal and freaking answer it. And if the brain's not queuing up a hunger signal, then you don't have to eat, right? Your macro coach has no idea how much you're supposed to be eating. It's wild and crazy to me that we blindly trust these macro plans. It's insane to me. And this is a very unpopular opinion. When I graduated nutrition school, I vowed that I was never doing another meal plan or macro plan ever again. I was like, this is so dumb. I can't believe I have to do this to get my credential. As soon as I'm credentialed, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. And I've never touched it since then. This is an unpopular opinion I've held for 12 years, and no sign of slowing down on this one. Tracking your food is not only unnecessary, but it's actually potentially harmful to your long-term health outcomes. Those are my unpopular opinions, my friends. I hope they resonated. Love to hear what you think.